right, we're just going to push record and go. This is a recording of our podcast, and you get to see behind the scenes of me recording that podcast. So here we go. A little sip of coffee. Hey, by the way, Ripple cards, have you checked them out? They're on my website, Ripple Connection Cards. Look for them under our store. Hey, welcome to another edition of the Ripple Effect Podcast. I'm your host, Steve Harper, and today I want to have a mea culpa. I actually want to tell you that the Ripple man screwed up. Now, I'm not going to say it was entirely my fault, but I will say what actually transpired was something that, had I been paying attention, I probably could have avoided. Now, many of you regard me as a relationship expert, a person that can make connections happen from unexpected people. And that's true. But even the Ripple man has to work on the relationship building process. And when I don't put the necessary time and attention into that process, relationships get off track, as was the case recently. Started with an email that was in follow-up to a project that I put in front of my virtual assistant. I hadn't heard from her, which was kind of unusual. I had met this virtual assistant through a good friend of mine, and she had used her with very good success, and I had as well, for probably the better part of, I don't know, going on 2 years maybe? I don't know. And really happy and pleased with the output and the work that I would get. Turnaround time maybe could have been a little bit better, but I recognized that I was one of many clients that she had, and therefore I never really concerned myself too much with the turnaround. And I felt like this person kind of got me and understood me. Well, apparently our relationship got off track last summer. Now let me catch you up to present day and then I'll go back. So present day, I got this email that says, hey, I'm acknowledging your project. I apologize. I actually forgot to respond, which kind of bothered me. But after looking at what you're looking for and kind of considering where things are, I just don't feel like we're a good fit to work with one another. And so after 3 weeks, maybe 2.5, 3 weeks of this project sitting in her queue, she no longer wanted to work with me. Now, of course, I responded back that I was completely shocked and I was disappointed, and I felt like we had done some good work together. And in her email, she had implied that this situation from prior summer, where she was going to be taking over some of the management and day-to-day updates of our websites and activities relative to that stuff. She was going to be doing that stuff for us. And then we had a change. Actually, one of my one of my software companies had, we discovered some problems with regards to our website with regards to security on the web side, the public-facing side. And we had started to evaluate platforms that would look at what we were using and how we could have regular alerts and updates relative to security. And it turned out this service did it all. And I could put all of our websites, including Ripple and a number of others that we have, under this one hosted platform, which would do a lot of the tasks that she would be doing manually for us automatically. And what's nice about it is it would do it multiple times during the month, including backups, so on and so forth. So when I reached back out and said, hey, look, I still want you involved in this project. This was last year. I would really like to have your input and you sort of overseeing and guiding us on this process because we're busy doing other things. My team at the software company, focused on other areas not related to this piece. And of course, myself with Ripple, doing stuff that is Ripple-esque. She said she was unfamiliar with that platform and didn't really have a comfort level moving forward doing anything with it. And so I felt like we agreed at that point that we would go ahead and try this service and see how it goes. And I would continue to use her for typical VA kind of work. And in fact, the statement she made and has made several times is, hey, if you need anything, just let me know. So that implies that when you need something, let her know. And the assumption I made was that was how she liked to work. Despite the turnaround, projects always got done, were exceptionally well done, and she was really creative. And I was really happy with the work. And so I assumed we would just continue to bump along, and I would provide her with projects that I had as they came up. My mistake. First and foremost, the lesson that you can take away is on any relationship, professional or otherwise, when we assume things may be good, if you don't take the time to check in on those relationships, not just once, but regularly, to make sure that expectations are being set on both sides of the fence, you could be setting yourself up for disappointment and potential relationship catastrophic failure, as was the case here. So I get this email and it says, so-and-so, and, is disappointed about last, summer, blah, blah, blah. I think all completely justified. Also could have easily been something we could have discussed openly and honestly, and still potentially found an avenue point forward to have her, be involved if there really was an interest in doing so. At the time, didn't seem like for that element of what I needed, that was something that she was super comfortable doing. And so naturally, I don't want to put anybody in a position to do something that they don't want to do. So we moved on. But at that point, the possibility of deciding how to set up our relationship in a go-forward manner probably was a thing that should have happened. I see it, I own it, I recognize it now for sure that I should have stopped and said, okay, if you're not going to do this for us, let's talk about what that looks like for how you could support me in my other various ventures going forward. And instead, I made the assumption on, I would think to a certain degree, a reasonable set of evidence to this process that, hey, call me when you need me, was call me when you need me. I didn't complain about turnaround time. I didn't really worry about having to follow up, multiple times on certain projects, say, hey, what's the status? Where are we at? Because I recognized that she had other clients that did keep her engaged and busy and probably were a bit more dependable and regular than me. I also recognize that I have this very crazy tendency, as entrepreneurs tend to do, is that my brain never shuts off. And so I have a running list of things that I need to, that I think are a good idea in the moment, that I capture and I put into kind of a platform that makes sense to me. And then I come back to those things after a period of time and I evaluate those ideas and say, yes, this is something to do. This is where I want to go. And this is how the project needs to, take hold or develop or, evolve. And those come in what I call fits and furies. And those things are, again, a fallacy of, or a, maybe not a fallacy, what would you say? An Achilles heel to my productivity. Not the most beneficial or productive way to operate, because I could come up with a flurry of things at one point, and I recognize now that I was putting those things in front of her with no sense of, hey, this is priority 1, priority 2, priority 3, or we'd go huge amounts of time without me engaging her at all. And at heart of heart, that was actually what her big issue was. And so I sent a very nice response, but I said, hey, look, here's the situation. You also didn't know all the behind the scenes things that were happening last summer. When you said that you didn't feel comfortable, I take you for your word and move on. Sorry that you obviously were frustrated with that situation. That was never my intent. And I recognize that as frustration was beginning to build, we probably could have resolved this with a phone call. As a VA, I kind of expect you to communicate, those kinds of things. But I was still willing to come to the table to say, hey, I still want to work with you because I'm happy with the business. But how did they say it? It was water under the bridge, in her opinion. At that point, she said, I don't feel like we're right now compatible. She broke up with me. She fired me, really, in essence, of, said essentially that the approach that I take was, not in alignment with her business, even though in this email I said, hey, look, if that is a set number of hours, we need to formalize something additional, I'm happy to do it. she didn't want to come back to the table. And so it really was kind of an eye-opening situation, but I recognize, even though this is a really minor bump in my road right now, it's a pretty big lesson to be learned. Number one, for all of you, when a relationship hits the resentment level, resentment, and you've heard me say it before, I'm going to say it again, resentment is the super secret promise of revenge, is the case was with this project that I was like waiting on for the past 3 weeks just to tell me you didn't want to do it and fire me. That was no bueno. That bothered me, but the resentment bubbles up in very unusual ways and often comes back to bite us in the ass, and that's not good. And so I don't begrudge her, and I certainly don't have any issues whatsoever with the fact that this relationship is going to end, but it does give me pause to recognize that you have to, for the people that you depend on for your success personally and professionally, you often have to check in with them with regularity. You have to find out if things are still working on both sides of the fence, because the assumptions we make about the relationships we have, especially those in a professional capacity, whether you're leading people, you're the employer or the leader of the company and you're leading people, or you have people doing work for you on a contract basis, or you're just simply dependent in some capacity for someone to watch your kids, pick them up from soccer practice or whatever. Hey, is this arrangement still working for you? I want to check in. And I actually think it's a really good lesson for us that want to increase and improve our relationships is to learn from this. I could have absolutely, positively, without question, picked up some signals maybe that were left for me. Turnaround time being one. But I'm a nice guy. I don't like to push people. I don't like to say, hey, I'm really waiting on this. What's going on? Or to just say, look, this is not acceptable. What's happening? That was an issue. The other issue that came up, and just in full disclosure, she had sent an invoice for some small project work she had done back in March at the beginning of the COVID situation. I admit 100% that things were a bit crazy there, but I thought I had sent it over to the person that cuts our checks. And as it turns out, I didn't. But she didn't call me in April. She didn't call me in May. And in June, she sent a really kind of, this email that said, hey, look, and you just now paid us, for this work. I said, I've always paid on time. I've always been, I pride myself on that. Had we gotten off track, I wished you would have just picked up the phone and called me. I would have paid you right then and there, So I'm not avoiding you for, it was less than $100. So, it's not a great sum of money. But obviously that added to the resentment. So there are things that, are sometimes out of our control like that, where I didn't know that was a problem. And I didn't know this issue dating back to last summer was a problem. But had I probably picked up the phone myself and had a conversation and said, hey, I just want to check in with you. How's it going? What do you think? Is there anything else that maybe from your services perspective that you think that I could be benefiting from that maybe I'm not aware of? Or what, of all the projects that I continue to put in front of you, what is the stuff you like to do the best? Is there other ways that you think that we could go about accomplishing some of this so that you're happy, I'm happy, we're, the turnaround is something that we can both live with? But I didn't do that. And I guess the whole point of today's episode is we all have these relationships. Thankfully, because I learned from this lesson, I reached out to somebody that provides me some technical value and input, and somebody that's been contributing to my software company for a bit, and realized that I have not checked in with them for a while. So I took this as a lesson point forward, and I recognized that it happened at the right time for me, and it was an important situation, because when I checked in with this individual, I did find he was dealing with some situation, personal, not related to work, but was concerned about raising those things to me because it was going to impact some project work that we had coming up over the next 30 to 45 days. Totally good with that. But had I not called, had I not followed up, had I not taken this, the situation with my VA firing me and the lessons learned from that relationship that maybe now is on the outs, to learn from it, to get better from it, I may not have checked in with this person, and we may have gone down a road of similar frustration. So that is what I have to share with you today. It's a lesson learned. I know many of you have thought that I have nothing but unicorns and rainbows in my relationships. Here's an example that I don't. I'm just a mere mortal, like many of my people that listen here. Not that you're mere mortals, I mean you're ripplers. But I don't do it any better or any worse than most people, right? I guess is what I'm trying to say. So I wanted to share that with you this morning because I think that it is important for you to know. It's also important for you to take a look inward and say, who do I depend on for my personal or professional success or happiness or my romance or whatever it is, and say, have I checked in with that person lately? Have I gone back to reset expectations? Have I checked in to make sure that things are working for them? And if not, what can I do to fix it so that I don't have resentments bubble up and I get terminated, fired, broken up with, or whatever, beaten with a bat at the end of the day? Because that would be good. So, gotta take a quick drink here. Thank you so much for watching, listening. I'm recording this on my YouTube channel, or for my YouTube channel, so you can see the video of me and how expressive or hurt or sad I was as I gave this story. If you choose to look for The Ripple Effect, Steve Harper, you can find it on YouTube. Easy peasy. Do not follow me on social media. Please look for me at RippleOn. I'm on Twitter at RippleOn, RippleOn. Same for Instagram. I'm on the Facebook, and I'm even done. No, don't go look for me on TikTok. I'm not the Ripple guy there. I have bad humor. In fact, actually, TikTok's probably going to get shut down here in the U.S. thanks to China using it to spy on us. So that may be irrelevant anyway. I hope everyone is having a great day. I hope that this situation that turned out poorly for me proved to be a good lesson for you. I have already turned that lesson into a success, at least in one other relationship, and I plan to do more. So don't forget to go out and check in on those important people you depend on for your personal and professional success and happiness, because it will help avoid frustration and conflict. I promise you. Until next time, my friends, ripple on. That's it. There you go. There you go. What was it? There you go. That's all, folks. How'd they do that in the Warner Brothers? No, was it Daffy Duck or Bugs Bunny? Might have been Elmer Fudd. They're taking Elmer Fudd's gun away. Can you believe that crap? This political correctness is out of control. Out of control. We're going to digitize a cartoon that was done in the 60s and 70s to take away the gun that he never really ever shot anything ever. He was a poor hunter. We're going to take it away. Now we're going to give him one of these Siths, whatever. The face of death carries around. How is that any different? I don't get it. Anyway, I digress. Thanks for watching. As always, ripple on.